Today, we're going to talk about something that happens in pretty much every friendship, the first fight. I'm not talking about some big, dramatic blow-up. No, I mean that quiet, awkward misunderstanding that feels like it could change everything. But what if, instead of breaking a group, it actually makes it stronger? You know what I'm talking about, right? That one moment where the whole vibe you've built, the one you completely rely on, just shifts. It's that weird feeling when all the easy, natural smiles just stop, and they're replaced by this heavy, uncomfortable quiet. Or when a joke that would have gotten a huge laugh yesterday just hangs in the air. Suddenly, everything feels tense. And you know it's gotten real when someone gets up and walks out. Well, for the friend group we're looking at, StoryPalz, that moment came on a day that they thought was going to be totally normal. Okay, so let's set the scene here. Picture this, a regular old classroom. We've got 6 friends meeting up to practice a presentation. There's the usual chaos, a little bit of banter. They have absolutely no idea that their friendship is about to get its first real test. So here's our crew. You've got Aryan, the organizer, and Sana, the planner, trying to keep things on track. Then there's Meera, the artist, Rhea, the quiet observer, and Tanae, who brings the chaos. And then there's Kabir. He's the vibes guy, and he kicks things off by saying it's going to be a totally peaceful day, which of course means it's about to be the exact opposite. And this right here, this is the spark. Aryan, being the logical one, says something that's purely about making the project accurate. But that's not what Kabir hears. To him, the guy who uses humor to connect with everyone, it lands like a punch. He hears, "You're just the funny guy. Your ideas aren't serious." After Aryan's comment, you could cut the tension with a knife. Tanae, bless him, tries to break the mood with a joke, but it just completely flops. The vibe is just gone. And Kabir, feeling hurt and totally misunderstood, just gets up and walks out. He leaves the rest of them sitting there in this sudden, really heavy silence. You know, this part is often the most important part of any fight. It's not really about the argument itself, but about what you do in the quiet right after. This is where the real work of being friends actually happens. And you can see everyone processing it in their own way. Rhea, the observer, just states the obvious emotional truth. He's really upset. Meera immediately jumps to empathy. Aryan is already feeling regretful, focusing on his own intent. But it's Sana, the planner, who nails it. She calmly points out the gap between what he meant and what Kabir heard. And from Kabir's side of things, this was way more than just one comment. See, he's the kind of guy who uses humor as a shield, kind of like a mask to hide his insecurities. And in that moment, for the first time, the mask slipped, and all that vulnerability was right there. And it all boils down to this one question in his head. It's something I think we all worry about, right? This fear that the role we play in our friend group is all people see, that it completely overshadows who we actually are. He didn't just want them to laugh, he wanted them to see his value. So how do you even start to fix this? Well, it doesn't take some huge, dramatic confrontation. The real turning point here comes from a really quiet, really simple conversation that Meera starts. What Meera does here is basically a masterclass in how to be a good friend. First, she doesn't push him to talk. She just sits with him, a quiet presence. Then, she uses a little bit of gentle humor to crack open the door for a conversation. Then she validates his feelings. And finally, and this is key, she reminds him how much he means to the group. This line is just perfect. It's so powerful because she acknowledges his biggest contribution, making them happy, but she also admits that they, as a group, have failed to show him they appreciate it. It's not an apology for what Aryan said. It's an apology for what they all forgot to say. And that was exactly what Kabir needed to hear. And just like that, with a silly little negotiation over a samosa, the tension breaks. It's more than just a joke. It's a signal. It's them going back to their own private language. It's the sign that, yeah, this friendship is going to be okay. Okay, so the emotional heavy lifting is done. The ice is broken. Now the group can actually come back together, resolve the conflict, and hit the reset button on their whole dynamic. Aryan's apology is just a textbook example of how to do it right. Notice he doesn't say, "I'm sorry if you were offended." No, he takes full ownership. I worded things badly. And then he hits the nail on the head by directly addressing Kabir's insecurity. You're important to this team. That's what makes it sincere. I mean, you can literally see the group's emotional roller coaster right here. The energy starts off super high. Then it just tanks after the fight. But look at that. After the apology, after some real communication, it's right back up where it started. And this right here, this is the proof. This is the moment you know everything is truly okay. They're back to their normal playful banter. The friendship isn't just fixed, it's actually stronger. They can now joke about the very thing that caused the problem in the first place. That shows a whole new level of trust. So what's the big lesson in all of this? It's that having a fight doesn't mean your friendship is weak. It means it's real. Misunderstandings are gonna happen, but talking about them, really listening, and being able to forgive, that's how you turn a moment of conflict into a moment of growth. So they made it through their first big misunderstanding, and they came out the other side even closer. But that was a fight that happened out in the open. What happens when the next challenge is something hidden, something like a secret crush? Well, that's a story for another time.